race. Here's how we fix the problems. He uses the word racism as a positive term, and he does not use the word gospel. That should tell you so much about his position here. That should tell you so much on whether or not he is even worth listening to. No gospel, no opinion. No gospel, no opinion. If you claim to be a Christian, but much more if you claim to be a pastor, no gospel, no opinion. In order to solve the crime, the violent crime committed by a lot of black people, a pastor decides to solve that with all-out racism. Let's talk about it. This is Joel Webbon on a podcast with a guy named Elijah, and here they are talking about this recent attack on the part of a guy named Rajah Jackson, son of Quentin Rampage Jackson, on this wrestler. Long story short, this pro wrestler did this joke to this guy named Rajah Jackson who trains MMA. He hit him in the head with like a can, like a fake wrestling can, and the guy took it very seriously, and later on that night, he brutally attacked him. It's a horrible video to watch. I won't even play it here, but a brutal attack. And so here is Pastor Joel Webbon on this podcast talking about this attack and discussing how we fix these problems from a Christian perspective. Check it out.
It's just like, why would you even smash a can of Coke, or fake Coke on a black guy's head? Why would you expect him to play by the rules? Now, if he was like a normal, like just guy had, I always call them Americans who are black instead of black Americans. It's like somebody's just a normal person who happens to have dark skin, whatever. They're not going to hurt you. But like, they say, right? I mean, that's the whole point, is that there are blacks and there are, are the ends, and there's very much a difference between them. And when a guy...
So look at that. So he's saying you can mess around with like one of the good ones. You can joke around with one of the good ones, but then the ends, and you know what he means by that. He goes, you can't joke around with those guys.
He's like talking about respect and everything. I just don't even approach these people. I avoid them entirely.
So the ones that I don't perceive to be one of the good ones, I stay away from them. Now here's Pastor Joel Webbon's response. I'm emphasizing pastor for a reason. Check it out.
I'm just saying, because I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's extreme, but I don't know. I don't know if that's extreme.
Yeah, I think there are plenty of people who are beginning to feel like that, and the only solution is...
All right, so there's a pastor saying a lot of people are starting to feel like that. Blacks, ends, those kinds of problems. I want to just stay away from them all. And the only solution is, Pastor Joel Webbon says...
they say anti-Semitism, it's terrible, it's hateful. It's like, well, but a decent degree of anti-Semitism is related to Jewish behavior. And I think there's something to be said for a decent degree of racism, whatever that word means these days, related to the behavior of minorities. And so you have to actually punish crime. And
so there you go. There you go. This is a Christian pastor Joel Webbon, saying the only solution to solve violent crimes committed by black people, the only solution is a little bit of racism to help the medicine go down, basically. That's the only solution. Now, again, he professes to be a Christian, to be a follower of Christ. And here he is saying we therefore need something that Christ not only never recommended, not only never prescribed, but something Christ never even supported, which is treating people differently on the basis of their race or categorizing them in some meaningful way on the basis of their race. So now here he's going to explain later on what his fleshed out view of this is and why he believes it's in line with the gospel, why it's in line with Christianity.
That's cool. I appreciate it. So I'm not a race essentialist because I don't think that race is... the quintessential category. I don't think that it's the top, and I don't think it's exclusive.
So he's saying he doesn't believe that race is the all-important thing. It's not the number one most important factor. Good start, but it is way too important to him. You'll see why.
But I do think that it's real and that it matters. So I prefer, using a label like a race realist would be fine. I'm not a race essentialist. I'm not also a racial determinist. I don't think that it's written in the stars. I don't think that it always has to be a certain way. And so that's somewhat similar to what you were saying, Braden.
Again, very progressive, very progressive of them. So look at these really radical views here. I believe that race is real, and I don't believe that race has to determine what happens to you. We're on the same page, buddy.
Position that I've come to, and this is not like just, cards on the table, full disclosure. This is not like, oh, this has been my position for 15 years. No, I'm learning in real time, and so I admit that up front. I'm learning just like everybody else. These are conversations that we weren't allowed to have, and not just like once upon a time. We weren't allowed to have these conversations like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and so this is very new, where you hear guys talking about these kinds of things, and then reading, certain literature and starting to carve out your position and those kinds of things. And so a lot of this is a recent development, and I admit that. That said, basically the position I've come to is this. I think that religion is paramount. So I think it's religion first, and then I think that race is up there.
Okay, so I don't believe that race is everything. I just believe that race is almost everything. Again, Pastor Joel Webbon.
I think that it trumps religion. So I'm not a racial essentialist. I think that religion trumps race, but race is real and race is significant. It's a real category, and it's a category that matters. Now, that said, my position is that I root a lot of racial distinctions. Some of this will be offensive, but I think it's fair, and I think that I think it's thought out. I root a lot of racial distinctions that we see today in religion. So I think there's two separate categories, but they play into one another. For instance, every major world religion, Christianity included, speaks not just to the eternal, the ultimate, the spiritual, but speaks to the physical, right? So even within Christianity, if you don't think that the Bible has anything to say about physical man, then you would be a heretic. You would be a Gnostic, right? You've completely severed any tangible, physical, temporal emphasis of the Christian faith to where it's merely spiritual, right? Where all of Christianity is just dealing with the 17th dimension. Well, that's not just a bad view. That is a heresy. That's Gnosticism.
So you got to watch what he's doing here. He is setting up this dichotomy here. Either you are a Gnostic heretic who believes that nothing to do with the physical, it's all about the spiritual, or you're a racist. That's basically the dichotomy he's going to subtly set up.
And so even Christianity, every major world religion, including Christianity, speaks to the physical, including, and you could also even argue almost especially biology. So what do I mean by that?
Real quick, I don't want to. I'm being a little bit humorous, but I don't want to be accused of setting up this false idea of what he's saying. Again, the false dichotomy he's setting up is this: either you're a Gnostic heretic who says it's all about the spiritual, or you have to highly, highly value biological things like the color of your skin or where your heritage is from.
Every major world religion deals with dietary restrictions, capital punishment for crime. And I'm going to use a word because I'm not trying to be unnecessarily offensive, but I'm trying to drive the point home. And so I'm going to use this word. Every major world religion has a eugenics program.
Okay. Again, there's going to be so many problems with this, but what is the purpose of the Old Testament dietary restrictions? What was the purpose of the really harsh, and the very quick, let's say just comparatively harsh, capital punishment prescriptions in the Old Testament? Well, they had to be very, very serious about simply keeping the people of God alive. That lineage of Abraham alive. They had to be so intent on that physical lineage surviving. Why? Why was it the case for them and it's not the case today? Well, because they needed to survive so that through the seed of Abraham, Christ could come into the world. If they all just got wiped out, then Christ would not come into the world through the seed of Abraham as God promised. And so, therefore, the dietary laws and all the other, the water of purification, those things in the Old Testament are there, and they're not in the New Testament because there is no lineage that needs to survive in order for God to accomplish his will anymore. So this is a crucial falsehood of what he believes here. He's saying, there's things like dietary restrictions. That has to do with their body. There's things like capital punishment in the Bible. That has to do with their body. Therefore, God really cares about racism or something like that. He wants you to really care about race and biological factors to that high of a degree. And the reality is, no. When it comes to just that comparison, there's very real reasons why it's there in the Old Testament, not in the New Testament.
Including Christianity. It's not whether but which. Trying to drive the point home. And so I'm going to use this word. Every major world religion has a eugenics program, including Christianity. It's not whether but which. Every society has it, whether it's religious or not. And go back to a previous point that I made in the first segment of the show. Every society is religious. That's also a not whether but which. So it's which religion you're going to have, not whether you're going to have one. You're going to have a religion, and every religion has a eugenics program. So what do I mean by that? Well, read the Old Testament and all the Levitical code. It's you sleep with somebody too closely related to you, your name is cut off from the line of Israel. You sleep with somebody too far, who worships foreign gods, a foreigner, your line is cut off from Israel.
You see, that God must really hate it when a black guy marries someone who's white because of the Old Testament. That's why. Because of intermarriage laws in the Old Covenant that were there for a specific purpose, which was, again, so that Christ could come through the lineage as promised, not because those races need to be separated, and that matters so much now. That's not even close to what the heart of that was for, but he's picking and choosing here. Really bad Bible study.
So all that being said, I actually believe, and it's not a Jesus juke, I'm not trying to over spiritualize or be a Gnostic like what I just condemned earlier on. I really believe that you can draw a correlation from worship to biology, to genetics. Now, this is not a 15-minute scenario. So it's not, hey, I'm going to adopt, 3 Haitian boys and I'm going to, they're going through good Christian parenting. They're going to raise, 2 standard deviations in their lifetime. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work that way, right? Because that's not how it happened with white people. It took centuries. Now, here's one added thing, because some of the ethno-pagan nationalists.
So this is how you justified not intermarrying, because, well, you can't fix them. You're not going to fix them. It's going to take a long time before you fix them. So instead, what you should do is keep yourself separated and make them fix themselves. This is the argument here. That's why you shouldn't marry a Haitian guy, for example, or a Haitian woman, because you can't fix that messed up, just objectively worse person. You can't do that. So it would take a long time. You'd have to ruin generations of your family in order to fix that one person, their brain, and what's going to happen with the children that they create. So instead, what you should do is make the Haitians only marry the Haitians, keep them over there. Us white people will stay over here and keep on marrying each other and being superior, well, not superior, but kind of superior. And then hopefully they'll fix themselves.
This bothers people, but I want you to see my heart in this. I'm not trying to be gay, talking to a dude talking about his heart, but really, I want you to see my motive in this as a pastor and as a Christian. I'm trying to account for something that is obvious. The time, it's not 2017 anymore. The time of taking obvious differences and distinctions between race and sweeping it under the rug and just saying, oh, it's just culture. It's just that darn hip hop, like that ship has freaking sailed, right? Can we all admit that? So we have to give a real answer to this question. And so for me as a Christian minister, I'm trying to give a real answer, but I'm trying to root it in the Bible.
I want you to see my heart as a pastor. As a pastor, I want you to see my heart here. I'm trying to account for something. I'm trying to account for something that is very real, like race. And none of his prescriptions include the word gospel. None of his prescriptions include the word gospel. It includes racism. That is a word. Think about this. In all that he has said, I'm trying to account for problems between races. I'm trying to account for something that is real, like race. Here's how we fix the problems. He uses the word racism as a positive term, and he does not use the word gospel. That should tell you so much about his position here. That should tell you so much on whether or not he is even worth listening to. There's a problem that's out there, and there's no gospel related to that. No opinion. You don't have an opinion here. Your opinion, you can have one, but I'm not going to respect it. And nobody should respect it. It's dumb. It is pure filth. It is a slap in the face to the humanity God has created by doing something that Jesus never called us to do, which is to divide it up in any meaningful way. Because the truth is, Galatians 3:28, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There are no true separations when it comes to God. So for you to positively use the term racism and not the term gospel in your prescriptions here is just disgusting.
Now, how do you account for pre-Christendom Western societies like Greece and like the Romans still being objectively superior than the entire rest of the world, bar none? And
so what he's saying here is, how do you account for empires that clearly were like more successful than the other empires like Greece, and this was pre-Christianity? How do you account for something like that? This is his answer.
What I would say with that, rooting in scripture, is there was a guy, if we believe the Bible, named Noah. He had 3 sons. Everyone else is wiped out with a worldwide flood. I'm one of those fuddy-duddies who actually takes the Bible literally. I believe it. So there's 3 guys now, his 3 sons, that are going to repopulate the whole earth. And God, through Noah, because of the sin of one of those sons, pronounces blessings and cursings. One of those sons is blessed. And then another son is going to be blessed, but at a lower level, a servant in Japheth's house. And then Ham, he's cursed. Now, people will point, say, oh, it's the curse of Canaan. It's his son, right? Noah's grandson, Ham's son. And that's true. The text says, cursed be Canaan. There's different interpretations with this, right? So some say, well, there's a general curse for Ham. Luther argued this. General curse for Ham, particular curse for Canaan. And that came to pass because Joshua wiped out all the Canaans, right? They were particularly cursed. But there seems to be, some kind of general curse for Ham. But take that aside for a second. There's certainly a blessing for Japheth. And so what I would argue, this is my position, I would argue that I think the Romans and the Greeks are descendants down the line, way down the line from Japheth. Now, I believe, last thing, this gets to the
The reason why I'm laughing is because Genesis, I hope you paid attention. There is literally, there's literally no objective basis on which he connected Japheth and the Roman Empire or the Greeks. There's literally no objective basis that he connected them with. He just said, that's just what I believe. Now, again, not to mention the fact that there in Genesis chapter 9, Noah is the one that cursed. So it's not like God pronounced the curse. This is something that Noah did. And so that already cast doubt on this entire argument. But again, he's like, and now there's like this blessing that's pronounced on one of them, and I just believe that's Roman Empire and the Greeks, and that's how I justify my race. It's honestly laughable. It's truly laughable. Again, people are making arguments in favor of racism these days, anti-Semitism, things like that. Okay, but no gospel, no opinion. If you're going to be a Christian, if you're going to call yourself a Christian, no gospel, no opinion. If you want to see the full version of this and every other video that I do, the Patreon version is usually a lot longer. So look at the link in the description for as little as $5 a month. You can support the channel. God bless you. I love you. Lord willing, I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.